Welcome to episode 230 of the Scarlet Faithful podcast. I'm Aaron Brightman coming to you on December 1st, Friday. Friday, happy weekend. First weekend since Labor Day, where there hasn't been a Rutgers football game, Labor Day weekend, that is, and Rutgers basketball opens Big Ten play, 4 p.m. at the Rack, airing live on BTN. Stephen Bardo, Corey Provis are on the call. You can, of course, always listen to Jerry Recco and Austin Johnson on the radio and the RSU guys as well. Big game, obviously, for both teams. Both are 5-1 coming in. Both have not really beaten anyone of significance. Both have one loss. Illinois lost at home to Marquette, who is a very, very good team. They lost by single digits. Rutgers obviously lost to Princeton. In terms of Illinois, let's just go through some stats. I'm going to talk about some players, and then I'll kind of focus on some keys as well. I'm going to be previewing every Rutgers men's basketball game this season, and knock on wood, many seasons. So let's see. Their best win from a statistical standpoint on KenPom was Oakland, which is 123rd in KenPom. They beat them 64-53, 9-point win. And their four other wins are all sub-300 teams: Eastern Illinois, Valpo, Southern, Western Illinois. They lost to Marquette 71-64 at home. They have not played a game away from Champaign yet. So this will be their first road game, which would be a big test, obviously, coming to the Rack. They've lost their last three at the Rack. And huge opportunity for Rutgers. They match up very interestingly. Both teams are very strong defensively so far. I do think competition is part of that, right? Let's see how Rutgers stacks up in terms of their schedule. They've definitely played a harder schedule. Strength of schedule overall, Illinois is at 350, Rutgers at 320. But they played, Georgetown's 188, Howard's 222, St. Peter's 256, Princeton's at 49 now. Only one sub-300 team, which is BU. So that is improvement for Rutgers. And again, let's not forget about Bryant, who went down and beat Florida Atlantic in Boca Raton. They're right on the fringe of the top 10 right now nationally. So that's a huge win. All that being said, we're going to learn a lot more about both teams in this game starting tomorrow. From an offensive perspective, Illinois, efficiency-wise, is a lot better. They're at 62nd nationally, 111.4. In terms of Terrence Shannon, he's a tremendous player, 6'6" guard. He's having an even better year as a Texas Tech transfer. He's shooting well from three. He does it all. He's going to be a difficult matchup. He's going to be matchup number one. I do think Peichel is going to mix it up with Hyatt and Austin Williams defending him. It's going to be a tough matchup. I think the key is limiting other players. Coleman Hawkins is questionable for this game. He's missed the last couple. I've heard some reports that he's going to play. I've heard I was on the Illini cast today as a guest. You can check that out on YouTube. I tweeted it out as well. They think he's going to play. So he hasn't had a good year so far, but he's always a dangerous player, and he always plays well against Rutgers. And he's a really tough matchup, just 6'10", rangy, stretch four. So who would cover him? It's tough to say. Probably Wolf, I would think, primarily. But Illinois is, they don't have a true point guard, and that is a weakness. One thing that is different about the two teams is their defensive styles. So Rutgers is turning teams over at a very high rate. Illinois does not turn teams over at all. Rutgers right now is number 5th nationally in turnover rate, defensive turnover rate, 25.5%. And Illinois is 346th at just 13%. So that's a huge difference. Physicality. Rutgers is the more physical team. Illinois is the more athletic team, I think. They're bigger, but they also have some guys that are, some freak athletes. Not to say that Rutgers isn't athletic in their own right. Rutgers needs to run more to win this game, in the sense of, if it's a pack it down, half-court rock fight, which I think it will be to a degree no matter what. I think you have to favor Illinois simply because they're the more efficient shooting team right now. They've shot the ball a lot better. Granted, the competition is a bit questionable, but, they're 26th nationally. They're shooting 57% from two. That's pretty good. Now, Rutgers is number 2 defensively in 2-point field goal percentage at 37.7%. So that's going to be tested. That's strength versus strength. But Illinois is definitely the better shooting team. 3-pointers, they haven't been great. 31.4%. It's 224th. And they've been abysmal. If you're angry about Rutgers at the free throw line, shooting, what's Rutgers shoot? 65.4%, 297th. Illinois is 57.1%, 360th nationally. I think that's, is there 361, 2 teams? Anyway, they're pretty bad from the line. But those 2-point baskets, are they going to be the Cliff versus Danja matchup down low is going to be fascinating. Foul trouble is going to be, a potential concern on both sides in this game. What's the officiating going to be like? Are they going to let the trees bang inside, or are they going to call some ticky-tack fouls? Is it, we've seen in the past, the Big Ten officiating crews, they kind of let them, hash it out the first 15 minutes, and all of a sudden the whistle becomes a little more frequent, especially in the start of the second half. So that's going to be an angle for sure. But I think it's ultimately for Rutgers, I think the whole season, it's going to come down to guard play. Can Noah Fernandes control the offense? Can he dictate pace? Rutgers right now is 26th in average possession length in the country, 15.4 seconds per possession. That is a dramatic difference for Rutgers this season and is a complete difference in style with the rest of the Big Ten. Illinois isn't much slower. They're a faster paced Big Ten team, but they're 111th, about more than a second more in possession. That's not, in reality that much, but Rutgers can push the pace. I think you want to try to get Illinois on their heels defensively, and the fact that Illinois doesn't force turnovers, Rutgers is going to be to their advantage, with their press, but also they're going to have the ability to get back. I think you obviously don't want Illinois to get out in transition, but that's not really their game. What they do really well defensively, and again, the competition's part of it, but they force teams into bad shots. They're the number 1 2-point defense in the country. But what I'm saying about in terms of bad shots is a big difference here is that they are number 6 in the country in free throws versus field goals, right? So they don't foul a lot. And then also in terms of assists per field goals, they're number 2. They allow the second least amount of assists in the country. So they don't foul. They don't allow teams to get to the line, and they don't give up many assists, which means teams are playing, a lot of one-on-one, taking bad shots against them. Rutgers has been pretty good about not doing that. So that's where Noah Fernandes comes in. That's where Derek Simpson comes in, attacking the rim, finding shooters. I really think this is a game that Rutgers can hit threes. I do. I think this is a game Gavin Griffiths can break out. I think Andre, hopefully, he can be hot and cold. We know this. We love him, but he can be hot and cold. This is a game, if he's hot, I think he could do a lot of damage behind the perimeter. I mentioned Gavin as well. And, Noah hasn't showcased it too much, but Noah's a 38% 3-point shooter in his career. So at UMass. So he hasn't shot nearly that well from 3 this season. So Illinois is a team that's certainly going to make it difficult to drive. And, I'm not saying, I don't think this is a game that Rutgers is going to, all of a sudden shoot 70% on layups, but I think they have to have some dribble penetration. And I think kickouts for shooters could be there. And they're going to have to knock down shots, obviously. You're going to have to score points to win this game. I really like the way the offense has been flowing lately, the way they've been sharing the basketball. I did a recent video on Noah, just talking about his impact on the offense, the way they've gotten Cliff involved. This is a game that, if they can get Cliff out in space, I think they got to move him around some, the high screens, even, baseline, just getting him to be more mobile, making Danja defend him. Illinois hasn't had to defend at such a high level in terms of average, opponents not having that long a possession length against them. I just think that this is something that, Rutgers needs to make them work. And, if they can get out in transition and pick up the pace and, the press, I think they can speed Illinois up in a way that they haven't been sped up yet. It's their first road game. They are a veteran team, but at the same time, they do have some new pieces. And even so, it's going to be, you know, a place they haven't traditionally played well in, and it's their first big test on the road. So I think there's certainly a path to victory here. Ken Palm favors Illinois by 1 point. Um, Yes, free throws are important, of course, but it's getting the right guys to the line. Dave White mentioned that very well in our podcast on Thursday, just in terms of, and this is the other key, you know, down the stretch. I think if it's close, if it's a one possession, two possession game with 5 minutes to go, I think you favor Rutgers. A, because of the home crowd. B, because you have Noah and Derek to handle the rock, and Illinois doesn't have a true point guard. And really, I mean, Shannon's probably going to be the guy to take the shots, but they haven't really established that, you know, end of game situations yet. They haven't really been in it. So, and then you have Derek and Noah, who are both shooting above 80% from the foul line. So if Rutgers has a one or two possession lead going down the stretch, last few minutes, I think I think they have a really good shot of winning, because I think that they could take advantage of those two guys at the foul line. I think that Illinois might struggle to get off good shots down the stretch with Rutgers playing suffocating defense. The big concern here is rebounding. Illinois is really is good, has been good on offensive rebounds. They're 70th nationally at a 34% offensive rebounding rate. Comparatively, Rutgers is about the same, 32.5, 97th. Rutgers is Rutgers is not been great. The one thing they haven't been good at defensively is limiting opponents on the offensive glass. And they've been fortunate that teams haven't taken advantage on second chance points as much. So this is a game that they could get burned on that. So that's a huge concern. That's my number one concern in terms of this matchup. Is Illinois going to punish Rutgers on the board, specifically the offensive glass, and get some easy, 2-point baskets that way? I think Goody for Illinois shooting close to 50, like 46% from three. He's having a bigger role this year. So that's a guy that, you're concerned about. But other than that, Illinois is just a team that, you want to take the battle to them. You want to bring the physicality early and often. You want to make them really uncomfortable just in terms of the pace. I think that even though, Illinois is bigger and more athletic to a degree, this is a game that Rutgers can make them uncomfortable by pushing the pace, and you have to keep them off the glass. And again, if this game is close down the stretch, I favor Rutgers. But Rutgers has to stay in it. They have to have the composure. I think that, this is the biggest game for several of the players in this environment. So as much as the rack can be an advantage for Rutgers, they have some players that are not used to that type of adrenaline, to be honest with you. And that's going to be key in this game. I think Noah having poise, Austin Williams when he comes in, Gavin, obviously the freshman, Jamichael Davis, all those guys. This is a different type of environment that they're going to play in for the first time. So how they handle it is going to be just as much key as how Illinois handles the road environment. But it's going to be a wild environment. It's going to be, I think, a really hard-fought game on both ends. And it's really crucial for Rutgers to win this game, because you start the Big Ten 1-0, and you have two big road games next week at Wake Forest and at Seton Hall. If they can win on Saturday, it's not that, the pressure's still on, but you just want to eliminate the fact right out of the gate that you're not going to go 0-3 in the next three games. You win against Illinois, and then you split on the road, you're 2-1, and that's in pretty good shape. If you lose Illinois, puts more pressure on the road games. They match up better maybe against those teams, and I think that they could still win both those games. But and hey, if you beat Illinois, then you got a chance to beat both of those teams and have a really special time and win all three, and then really be in great shape and really get some buzz. So this is a buzz-worthy game. They've done really well lately in Big Ten openers at the rack, and hopefully Saturday is another one of those. It's going to be a fascinating matchup just in terms of coaching as well. What adjustments, Peichel is still figuring out rotations. Will Mag play? We thought he might play on Monday against St. Peter's. He did not. Obviously, if he returns even for limited action on Saturday, it would be a huge boost. I think a lift for the team emotionally and for the fans. It'll blow the lid off the place. So we'll see what happens. I think that, Austin Williams potentially could play a huge factor in this game if he does defend. Shannon, I think he has an impact to be a factor there. I think Wolf. I think they need a big game out of Wolf. I think they need him on the boards. And I think they need him to get him the ball near the rim and attack. I think that he can have a big game in this one. But at the end of the day, it's guard play. And I think Rutgers truly has an advantage with Noah and Derek in this game, being able to control the pace, being able to control the action down the stretch, and their ability to convert from the foul line. So, I'm not a big prediction guy in terms of making a score, but I think it could go either way. But I think Rutgers could definitely win this game, and it would do a lot for it would be great to just boost morale and just have a really huge win to harp on. Right now, Illinois is 26th in KenPom, and Rutgers is 56th. So they moved up quite a bit since the start of the season. And this would be something to hang their hat on. So let's see what happens. I'll be back for my reaction on Saturday night. Hope everybody has a great weekend and has fun watching this game. And we'll see what happens. Thanks for listening to the Scarlet Faithful podcast once again.